I'm Rachel Morrison. For 12 years, I watched my older brother, Cameron, build his so-called empire while treating me like the charity case of the family. When he spent $15,000 trying to prove I was a fraud, he unwittingly hired the one investigator thorough enough to uncover his own crimes. This is the story of how my brother's obsession with destroying me became the downfall of his entire life. If you've ever been dismissed by your family, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. Cameron was always the golden child. High school quarterback, business degree from USC, MBA from Northwestern, the credentials our parents bragged about to anyone who would listen. At 38, he had crafted the perfect image of success: designer suits, luxury cars, a mansion in the most prestigious neighborhood, and a wife who looked like a magazine model. I, on the other hand, was the odd sister who preferred coding to parties, who picked a state school for computer science, and took a humdrum IT job that no one outside the office truly appreciated. Rachel's doing her tech thing, Mom would say at family gatherings, with that dismissive tone like I was running a lemonade stand instead of managing enterprise software projects. Cameron thrived on the contrast. Every dinner turned into his personal TED Talk. I just closed a $5 million investment round, he'd boast, expecting applause. Our fund controls over $50 million now. We're in commercial real estate, tech startups, sustainable energy, 12 sectors in total. He called it Morrison Capital Partners. Glossy website, sleek office, team in matching blazers. Tesla in the driveway. Rolex on the wrist. Trips to New York and Dubai. And Rachel, Dad would say, voice heavy with polite expectation. Works fine, I'd reply, keeping it deliberately vague. Still doing that computer stuff? Cameron would ask, swirling his expensive scotch. IT support and software development, I'd answer. Right. Good to have stability. Not everyone's cut out for entrepreneurship, he'd smirk. Melissa, his wife, would laugh, a brittle, crystalline sound that felt sharp. Rachel's so humble, she'd say, like my life was a quaint hobby. What they didn't know, I was VP of product development at a mid-sized tech company, making $180,000 a year. But I was also the founder and CEO of MaxTech Global. 6 years ago, my college roommate Alex and I launched MaxTech, building proprietary AI for predictive maintenance in manufacturing. Our tech predicted equipment failures before they happened, saving companies millions. We started with a single client, grew to 10, then 40. By year 5, we'd been acquired by a Fortune 500 industrial tech company for $95 million. I kept 40% and became CEO of MaxTech as a fully independent subsidiary. My personal payout, $38 million. My CEO's salary, $320,000, plus equity worth $23 million. Total net worth, roughly $67 million. And I'd never told a soul in my family. Why? I wanted to see who loved me for me, not for what I could give them. The answer was clear years ago, but I kept observing, documenting, and growing. I lived modestly, a townhouse, a 5-year-old Honda, jeans and blazers at family events. I nodded politely when Cameron bragged, asking questions as though I were impressed. Meanwhile, MaxTech expanded internationally, landing a $30 million defense contract, opening offices in Germany and Japan. Forbes wanted me in a Next Generation Leaders feature. I declined, I wasn't ready. Alex knew my family situation. Rachel, why keep going to those dinners? They treat you like air. I need to see how far they'll go, I told him. And I think I'm about to find out. What nobody knew was that Cameron's empire was a lie. Morrison Capital Partners wasn't controlling $50 million, it had $7 million in real investments. The rest? Fiction. Cameron ran a Ponzi scheme, using new investors' money to pay old ones. For 8 years, he promised 15 to 20% guaranteed returns to friends, family, and business contacts. Small, legitimate returns at first, but then greed took over. Mansion, cars, luxury lifestyle. To sustain it, He needed more investors. Eventually, the math would collapse. And collapse it did, in March, 6 months before the inevitable explosion. Dr. Harold Pierce, a retired dentist and investor, wanted $200,000 back for his daughter's wedding. Cameron stalled. Market timing, he said. June came. Tech sector volatility. July will be better. Pierce hired a forensic accountant. The accountant found inconsistencies, trades that didn't exist, returns that were impossible. The SEC complaint followed. Cameron panicked. He needed a scapegoat, a distraction. And he chose me. Cameron had hired a private investigator to dig into me, supposedly to prove I was secretly wealthy and use it against me in his SEC troubles. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Rachel, if this investigator examines your finances closely, he's going to uncover Max Tech. And if he's thorough on your end, he'll inevitably look into my family too, I said, finishing the thought. Including Cameron. What would he discover about your brother? Patricia asked, her voice tight. I don't know the specifics, I admitted, but Cameron's lavish lifestyle has never added up. The numbers simply don't make sense. Alex opened his laptop. Want me to dig into what's publicly available? Do it. Over the next week, what Alex uncovered was explosive. SEC filings showed Morrison Capital Partners actually managed only about $12 million, not the $50 million Cameron claimed. Returns plotted against market benchmarks revealed patterns that were impossible without manipulation. Online forums were filled with investor complaints about difficulties withdrawing funds. Rachel, Patricia said cautiously, it looks like your brother is running a Ponzi scheme. A chill ran through me. How certain are you? 90%. The patterns match classic fraud. A competent investigator will see it too, especially one reviewing family financial history to contextualize your own finances. I called my personal lawyer, Marcus Webb, who'd handled the Max Tech acquisition. Marcus, I need you at a family dinner on December 15th. Cameron hired a PI to investigate me, and I suspect he'll uncover far more than Cameron expects. What exactly? Max Tech, and evidence of Cameron's securities fraud. Marcus whistled. I'll be there. And I'm bringing Sarah from our criminal defense team, just in case. For 6 weeks, I prepared meticulously. I contacted Carson Wells, the investigator Cameron had hired. Mr. Wells, this is Rachel Morrison. You've been hired to look into me. A pause. This is unusual. Subjects don't usually call me. I want to cooperate. I'll provide any documents you need. I want your report accurate, whatever you find, it must be correct. Another pause. Why? Because the truth matters, I said. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop. Carson Wells, an ex-FBI agent in his 50s, had eyes that seemed to pierce right through you. Ms. Morrison, I've been doing this 20 years. You're the first person who volunteered to help me investigate their own adversary. I have nothing to hide, I said. Find whatever you're going to find, and make it accurate. I handed over every document, finances, employment records, Max Tech files, everything. If you're doing a proper due diligence report, you'll also examine family finances, I told him. Of course. Standard procedure, he said. And I want thoroughness, I added. He studied me. What do you expect me to find? About me? I said, meeting his gaze. That I'm a CEO of a thriving company. About my family? I think you'll find far more than Cameron ever wanted anyone to see. 3 weeks before the dinner, Wells called. Ms. Morrison, we need to meet with your attorney present. Marcus and I went to his office. Wells had 2 thick files. I've completed the investigation, he said. Ms. Morrison, insisting on accuracy was wise. What I found isn't what your brother anticipated. Opening the first file, he said, you are Rachel Morrison, VP of Product Development at Tech Solutions, earning $180,000 annually. Flipping a page, he added, "You are also founder and CEO of Max Tech Global, a wholly owned subsidiary of Industrial Tech Corporation. Your personal net worth is roughly $67 million. You've kept this from your family for 6 years." "Correct," I said. The second file had a grimmer tone. "I conducted background checks on your immediate family. Cameron Morrison owns Morrison Capital Partners. I reviewed filings, investor complaints, and financial records." He handed a document to Marcus. "Morrison Capital Partners is operating a Ponzi scheme. Promised returns are impossible, multiple investors can't withdraw funds, new money is used to pay older investors, and statements have been falsified. The fund is insolvent by roughly $890,000. Marcus's face hardened. "This is securities fraud. Multiple felonies. The SEC has been notified," Wells continued. "They asked to delay reporting to your family until local law enforcement could coordinate. Agents will be present at your December 15th dinner." I swallowed. "Federal agents?" "Yes. This is considered flight risk. Assets will be frozen, and arrest warrants issued immediately." December 15th arrived. I wore a tailored black suit, my family's first view of me in anything professional. I pulled into the driveway in my Honda, parked between Cameron's Tesla and Melissa's Range Rover. Marcus and Sarah arrived in their BMW. Cameron frowned. "Rachel, why the lawyers?" "Mr. Wells is presenting a financial report." "Legal counsel is standard," I said. The room was packed, parents, Cameron and Melissa, relatives, investors, and family friends, all invited to witness my supposed humiliation. Outside, 2 federal agents in an unmarked car observed. Cameron raised his wine glass. "Thank you all for coming. Tonight we'll examine how lifestyle compares to actual wealth." He pointed at me. "Rachel has always lived modestly, in a simple townhouse, driving a basic car. Yet I suspected she was hiding something, so I hired Carson Wells, $15,000 well spent, to uncover the truth." He smirked. "When Wells proves Rachel's been wealthy all along, it will show appearances don't indicate success." Wells stood. "This investigation examined all relevant context, including family finances." Cameron waved him off. "Just show Rachel's bank accounts." Wells ignored him. Report 1, Rachel Morrison. VP at Tech Solutions, $180,000 salary. However, this is not her primary income. He revealed the truth. Founder and CEO of Max Tech Global, acquired for $95 million, retaining 40% equity, $38 million payout, current stake $23 million, CEO salary $320,000 plus bonuses. Net worth, $67 million. Gasps filled the room. Cameron's smirk vanished. Melissa paled. "You've been hiding this for 6 years." "I never lied," I said. "I just didn't reveal everything. I wanted to see who loved me for me." Cameron slammed his hand on the table. "This proves my point. Rachel's modest despite millions, lifestyle means nothing." Wells interrupted sharply, pulling the second envelope. "Standard diligence includes family finances," he said. He revealed Cameron's actual filings, $12 million in real assets, $43 million fabricated. Returns claimed were impossible. Morrison Capital Partners was a Ponzi scheme, new investor funds paying earlier investors, at least 23 investors blocked from withdrawals, falsified statements. The room fell silent. The fund was insolvent by nearly $890,000. Chaos erupted immediately. Aunt Linda screamed. Uncle Frank yelled about his lost retirement savings. Investors surged toward Cameron. "That's a lie." Cameron shouted, his face red. "This is slander. I'll sue you." "You won't," Wells said calmly, producing another document. "I've already shared this with the SEC. They've been investigating Morrison Capital Partners for 4 months. My findings align perfectly with their evidence. Cameron staggered back, shaking his head. No, this can't be. Rachel, tell them. Say this is revenge. This isn't about Rachel, Wells replied. It's about your crimes: wire fraud, securities fraud, investment advisor fraud, and falsifying statements to investors. The proof is thorough. He laid out page after page of evidence: falsified account statements showing 18% returns while actual returns were negative, $240,000 siphoned from new investors to pay old ones, personal expenses, Tesla, Rolex, mortgage, charged to the fund. Everything meticulously documented. Melissa clutched Cameron's arm. What is he saying? What did you do? I didn't. I was going to fix it. I just needed one good quarter. Cameron's voice cracked. From the doorway, 2 FBI agents in windbreakers appeared, with 2 more following behind. I'm Special Agent Torres, one announced. Cameron Morrison, you're under arrest for wire fraud, securities fraud, and making false statements to federal regulators. Cameron bolted for the back door, shoving past Melissa, but 2 agents intercepted him within steps, pinning him to the wall and cuffing him. You have the right to remain silent, Torres began. Melissa collapsed, sobbing. My mother screamed Cameron's name. My father froze, mouth agape. Aunt Linda spun toward me, fury written across her face. You knew. You knew and you let us invest with him. I didn't know about the Ponzi scheme, I said quietly. I suspected his lifestyle didn't match his income, but I had no proof he was stealing from investors. If I had known, I would have acted immediately. Uncle Frank lunged. Marcus stepped in. My client had no knowledge of Mr. Morrison's crimes, Marcus said firmly. Ms. Morrison was deceived just like everyone else. She's been documenting his fraud for years. Then why didn't you stop him? Aunt Linda shrieked. Because until tonight, there was no proof, I said. Now there is. Cameron's going to prison. Your losses are the result of his choices, not mine. Torres finished reading Cameron his rights and began escorting him out. Cameron spun around, eyes wild. Rachel. Rachel. Use your money. Hire lawyers. Help me. I looked at him, the brother who spent 12 years belittling me. No, I said firmly. You spent $15,000 trying to expose me so you could shield your crimes. You called me a fraud while stealing from others. You treated me like nothing to feel superior. These are your choices, Cameron. Live with them. They led him away. Melissa's sobs echoed through the silent house. After the arrest, the house emptied fast. Investors called lawyers immediately. Aunt Linda and Uncle Frank left in fury, threatening lawsuits. My mother sank into a chair, mascara streaking her cheeks. How could this happen? I didn't make it happen, I said. Cameron committed crimes, and he got caught. You could have warned us. I suspected, but without proof, warning you would have only tipped him off. Would that have made you whole, or helped him disappear with everything? She had no answer. My father stared at me, a mixture of shock and accusation. You're worth $67 million and never told us. Would we have loved you more if we knew? Marcus touched my arm. Rachel, let's go. I glanced back once. Cameron's crimes aren't my responsibility. I didn't cause them, and I won't fix them. I'm sorry you're hurt, I said to my parents, but I'm not sorry I protected myself. The following 72 hours moved fast. The FBI seized Cameron's assets, the Tesla, the mansion, Melissa's jewelry, bank accounts. The SEC froze Morrison Capital Partners. Investors were notified their funds were likely gone. Cameron was denied bail, the prosecution cited flight risk from recent offshore transfers. Melissa filed for divorce within a week, claiming ignorance. The FBI believed her. She was just a trophy wife, oblivious to the fraud. 23 investors filed civil suits totaling $4.2 million, most would never be recovered. My parents' house became a war zone. Their $200,000 investment, my father's retirement, was gone. They blamed me. I didn't offer restitution, it wasn't my responsibility. Aunt Linda and Uncle Frank lost $300,000. Their lawyer confirmed they couldn't sue me. They cut off contact entirely. The family fractured. Some wanted me to reimburse victims, others assumed I was complicit. A few apologized for past cruelty, I accepted those apologies. 4 months later, I sat in court watching Cameron plead guilty to 11 counts of fraud. The scheme, 8 years, 47 victims, $4.2 million lost. Offshore accounts held just $127,000, the rest financed his lifestyle. The judge sentenced him to 12 years, ordering restitution everyone knew he couldn't pay. Melissa got divorced, left with nothing, and returned home. Cameron, once the golden child, was finished. I felt no triumph, just quiet relief. 6 months later, my mother called. "Rachel, can we talk?" "I need to apologize," she said. "Your father and I failed you both. We raised Cameron to believe success required no ethics, and you to feel invisible unless useful. We were wrong." She cried. "I'm so sorry." "It matters," I said quietly. "We can try for a family relationship, not about money, with boundaries and therapy." "Yes. Whatever it takes." 2 years later, my relationship with my parents is cautious but healing. They've met Alex, visited Max Tech, attended ribbon cuttings. They'll never recover their lost $200,000, and I didn't offer. That boundary matters. Cameron writes occasionally from prison, asking for money or appeals. I don't respond. Marcus files everything. Uncle Frank and Aunt Linda never recover their funds, they moved, downsized, and stopped speaking to me. Their choice. Max Tech continues to grow, now valued at $340 million. Forbes featured me. I no longer hide my success. I established the Morrison Victim Restitution Fund, $12 million to aid Cameron's victims. It won't make them whole, but it's something. I control my actions, not their reactions. Family is a privilege, not an obligation. Protecting yourself isn't cruelty, it's survival. Cameron spent $15,000 trying to expose me to cover his crimes. He didn't need me to fail, he destroyed himself. I just refused to be collateral damage. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge, it's stepping aside and letting consequences fall where they belong. If you've ever had to cut off toxic family, share your story in the comments. Stand up. Protect yourself. You are not the villain for refusing to be the victim. Hit like and subscribe for more stories of standing your ground and refusing to be the family scapegoat.